Welcome to the show starring Gammoth, Mizutsune Glavenus, and Astalos in the FATED 4! Okay, look, I'm not sure if that was just bad or bad good, but either way, thank you for not closing the video. Okay, veterans who know these monsters, how well, come on, mate, it's pretty close. And for everyone who doesn't know who these are, what's your best guess based on how I just represented them? I'd love to know if you were right. Welcome then, fellow hunters, to my next monster talk. The FATED 4, intrinsically linked but could not be more different. Each beautiful, majestic, powerful, and terrifying in their own right. A quad flagship that led a generation, and each one of them is incredible. Let's begin with Gammoth, who essentially, she's a giant woolly mammoth. That already kind of tells you what you need to know, but she leads her herd as a true matriarch. Fantastic theme music aside, Gammoth as the Popodrome does of course allow these smaller yet similar herbivores to travel with her herd. They use it as protection, mingle in with young Gammoth. Gammoth then is incredibly territorial, aggressively so, despite being a herbivore rooting for what vegetation she can find in the frigid tundras she calls home. Seriously, you don't want to spend any length of time in her territory. Like, it's freezing, you'll have to wear a jacket, and you know, there's many challenges you'll face, such as being fucking murdered by a mammoth. You see, Gammoth has essentially no natural predators. Outside of elder dragons and Yucanlos, who'd give her a right good go, everything else, she's just too powerful. The risk of injury, the effort to bring her down, it is not worth it. But what is worth it is the tasty little baby Gammoths and the popo in her herd. So she will defend them violently. She, upon spying a threat, a predator, or indeed a hunter, will enrage, charge towards them, grab them in her thick, muscled trunk. It is dexterous, it is fast, it will wrap round and slam them down into the frozen ground, shattering their body in one blow. Using this trunk, she can take in copious amounts of snow, blast it out offensively, or apply it to the bony protrusions on her feet, giving her a layer of snow armor that also enhance her crushing stomps with icy terror. She can also take in so much air so quickly she creates a vortex, sucking in hunters for easy red misting. She essentially just loves to throw her weight around, a thick layer of fur and blubber, both letting her survive in the environment and also protecting her from damage. She is a living tank, her crest of iron-like bone providing intimidation and turning blades aside simultaneously, descending into two tusks of rock-hard strength that can pierce through blocks of ice as easily as a hot Glavenus tail through a hunter. That'll make more sense later in the video. She does, however, have one rival, one enemy, the Tigrex, a brutal, powerful predator who we'll talk about at some point, but he, well, cannot take an adult Gammoth, but what he does like is a little bit of baby Gammoth hors d'oeuvres. And a baby Gammoth that survives Tigrex attacks after witnessing its peers get brutally murdered by him will grow up and develop an instinctual hatred and rage towards the Tigrex, attacking them with a savagery not used on anything else upon sight. This essentially is the relationship between these two. Hey, I know you!
You do? I'm pretty sure you killed my babies! No, doesn't sound like me. Yes, you did! Do you have, any proof? I'll kill you!
And that's kind of all you need to know about Gammoth. She is beautiful. Imagine just seeing her walk past, her footsteps causing vibration quakes through the ground as her immense bulk passes by, parting the snow as you just look up and hope that she does not take offense to your presence. Powerful and gorgeous. What a creature. Also, look at Gammoth armor. You become an actual tank. Now that is going to keep you warm in the snow. Well, I don't know what happened with the female version, but I do love it. Now, each of the four has a deviant. A deviant is a member of the species that has gone above and beyond, either through a random mutation, a unknown environmental factor, living long enough, surviving battles with Hunter, and they have attained a level of strength that lets them fight elders. New moves, new intelligence, new tactics, and just raw power. Elderfrost Gammoth then is the deviant for Gammoth, and she becomes ridiculous. Instead of snow armor, well, she uses ice, and not just on her legs, on her trunk too, and not just plain ice, it is spiked ice, letting her cut foes to shreds with the powerful swipes of her trunk. Her snow capabilities are also turned up to 11, having much more powerful lungs and control over her airflow allows her to take in much more snow and blast it out in a range of new attacks that are just frozen death for all who approach. After that, there's not a huge change. She's bigger, more powerful, generally just stronger in every single way, and a lot more aggressive, slightly faster, and just essentially you don't wanna be alone with an Elderfrost Gammoth in a dark, snowy alleyway. Not that I know how that situation would occur, but essentially deviants are capable of going toe-to-toe with elder dragons, and as such, most hunters, well, aren't even allowed to go near them because they're gonna die. So moving on then to Mizutsune, Bubble Dragon, the prettiest of the Fated Four, and honestly one of the most beautiful monsters in game. Iridescent shades of pink and purple lining the scaly body being reflected in the sunlight, his head crest slightly translucent, allowing the light to light it up in just brilliant glow. The graceful movements, the soft aesthetic, it is a beautiful design and I adore it. Now, Mizutsune is a Leviathan. However, Mizutsune, I'm sorry if I'm butchering that, is a Leviathan, but choosing not to spend much time swimming. Indeed, they like to laze by the riverbanks, enjoying the sun and living the quiet, relaxing life. They're capable from their skin pores to produce this slimy substance that essentially acts like soap. They are the living embodiment of a slip and slide. Yeah, and the thing is, outside of their regular jobs in car washes, they're incredibly calm and docile, peaceful creatures. Now, they're of course willing to defend themselves with deadly aggression, but they're more than willing to let the aggressor leave at any moment and not pursue the fight. If they were in world, they would certainly be a monster that you could approach, observe, and have a nice little cuddle with, and it would not attack you unless you struck the first blow, and I find that awesome. So why are we indeed stabbing them to death? Well, the thing is, male Mitsunes during the breeding season go a little bit batshit crazy. They rampage around, destroying everything and everyone in their path. And that's obviously a problem. So hunters are sent to blue ball them with a little bit of, well, murder. That's why every Mizutsune you fight in-game is actually male. So despite their limbs being much more developed than other Leviathans and allowing for much stronger, more precise land movement, since their main diet is fish, they spend most of their time near rivers, head motionless above the water, waiting for an unfortunate victim to pass underneath, and then BAM! Blink of an eye, it doesn't even have time to register danger. Now, they'll occasionally prey on something large, larger, when they're extra peckish, but it's not common. Now, in combat, Mizutsune are as deadly as they are beautiful, able to use this soapy liquid they secrete to move around with ridiculous speed and agility. To stop themselves from overcommitting to their slidey ways, they have curved claws on their front legs. These dig into the ground and act as pivot points to quickly spin round and face foes after sliding straight past them, and to strike them in the back with various body slams and tail hits before they can even react. Mizutsune is very much not afraid to throw its weight around and try and crush foes physically. It can also fire high-pressure jets of water out of its mouth to cut through opposition, but of course Mitsune's signature fighting style is Bubble Fu. It can fire a huge one out of its mouth that will pop with concussive force upon impact, and it uses the purple hairs around its body to stir up the soapy secretion and generate even more bubbles. This slippy surface it creates everywhere completely destabilizes its enemies, causing them to slide uncontrollably all over the place, while it can finish them at leisure with its mouth that can unhinge like a snake, growing wide and absolutely shredding into flesh, its teeth curved backwards to make escape impossible without sacrificing, well, a huge lump of your body. It's quite the devastating combination. These bubbles can be set as trapped, thrown in groups, and used as distractions both defensively and offensively. It is an expert at using these tricky traps to maximum effect. But of course, its biggest and most potent attack that is guaranteed to succeed is it can get soap in your eye. But my favorite thing about Mizutsune is that it can use the fins that are surrounding its body and adorning its head that glow a beautiful crimson when it's enraged as the blood rushes and heats, to actually sense any slight movement and vibration in its soapy secretion, much like a spider in her web that can sense the slightest disturbance. Mizutsune knows where you are without looking at you if you are touching any of his slip and slide fun. That is a pretty damn incredible adaptation. They're found in very much foresty, watery areas, anywhere that's good for their primary food source, and the one thing that they really have going for them is their theme song. Everybody was slip and sliding. Oh, Bubbles had me dying. It was so clean and frightening. Wait, that's the wrong that. I don't know how that got in there. I meant this. Oh, I love that music. So, Mitsune's deviant then is the Soulseer. Blinded in combat, it turns up its soap sense to 11, essentially becoming Soapy Daredevil. It can use its soapy secretions and bubbles to paint such a vivid picture of the world around it that it's actually better at interacting with its environment than a normal Mizutsune. Much deadlier, faster, stronger in combat, much more precise, able to so accurately detect where everything is around it by turning the very ground into its senses. It's really quite badass. So it has the usual physical upgrade in all categories that deviants have, but one of the coolest things about the Soulseer is that thanks to feeding on burst arowana, which are fish that explode open when you cut into them, it can add an explosive effect to its bubbles. They're now tinted blue and will, well, explode. It's really cool, explosive bubbles. And then one final note is that from its blind eyes, water vapor will leak when it's angry, giving it this ghostly, terrifying, ethereal visage, which I adore. Next up then is Astalos, who is an electric psychopath. He is erratic, twitchy, and unpredictably aggressive. He took the aggression dial, ripped it off, and tried to fight the fucker, then looked at Devil Joe and went, hold my lightning. It is ridiculous fighting him. He has these twitchy, rapid insectoid movements, and he has a huge insecty aesthetic. It's like someone took a dragonfly, combined it with a scorpion, threw in a bit of Rathalos, and then had a "it's alive" moment with thunder. He will fight anything and everything, even if it's retreating, even if it's given up. He will not stop murdering the shit out of it until it has been thoroughly murderized. He will fight all of the things. And the thing is, he's very good at fighting. In the air, he has a dragonfly's level of precision, dexterity, and speed, and by the way, dragonflies most successful hunters on the planet, and he can even challenge Rathalos for King of the Skies status. Known as the Thunder Wyvern, he can generate thunder throughout his entire body. He doesn't just have a thunder organ, his entire body charges up with green lightning as he fights. The heat and pressure building up inside him, converting into more and more electricity that he can fire out of his pincer tail, out of his mouth in great blasts, even coat his wings. When he reaches full charge, he glows this beautiful green. He can send lightning balls skirting round the battlefield. Essentially, he turns the area around him into the no-go, you get fried zone. On top of that, he's incredibly physically competent, fast, using his wings as blades with electrified green claws slamming down into you, charging you, leaping around the place, doing incredible aerial feats of lightning smashing down, and essentially he will use everything in his power to absolutely decimate you as quickly as possible. He is by far and away the most constant, relentless member of the Fated Four, and it's an exhilarating, heart-quickening fight. And if that wasn't enough, their entire shell is covered with deadly spikes that shred foes on contact. And believe me, he's really going to want to keep contact with you. He can also have his signature attack where he generates a thunder blade coming out of his horn and slams it down upon you. It really is quite badass. He will feed on Vespoids and occasionally something larger, but most of the time he just fights and kills things because it's what he does, not even to eat them. Things like Rajang and Deviljho are above his pay grade, but he often does punch above his weight due to just how sheerly competent at killing things he is. He can also not be trusted with his own young. They leave their nest just before they hatch, otherwise they can't resist a little bit of quick baby Astalos cannibalism. Similar to bearded dragons in that regard. Bearded dragons will eat their own babies as they just eat anything that moves that's small enough to fit in their mouths. The wings of the Astalos are see-through and glass-like, much like the glasswing butterfly, which is a very, very beautiful creature and another support to their insectoid influence. And yeah, there really isn't a lot more to it. He's not the most super sensical monster from a natural standpoint, but he is really quite badass and he's a really fun fight. Just lightning death wherever he goes and just one of the most powerful flying wyverns going. I do think Astalos' theme might be my favorite. His deviant version then is the Boltreaver Astalos. He starts fully charged up and is always fully charged up. He can reach an even higher state of charge where he turns blue and his lightning blade is absolutely colossal. It is glorious in its terrifying power, slicing his enemies asunder with electric disintegration. He then also generates the power to control electromagnetism. Due to a rare mutation in his organs, he has gained this extra delicate ability whereby he will produce lightning that will attract and absorb and drag his enemies screaming towards them, so he doesn't even have to really put in the effort of going to them. On top of that, he gets the usual bump in strength, speed, aggressiveness. His moves take on new flavors, new twists. His electric attacks are all amped to the max, and he is simply put ruthless. Finally then, last but not least, we have Glavenus. Arguably the strongest of the four, certainly one the game has you fight last. He is a brute wyvern, and while not the biggest, he is amongst the most strong and deadly of them. He's also the most intelligent, with genuine battle nuance and strategy that helps him just take his opposition apart. In appearance, his face is structured very similar to a Carnotaurus, with specially developed fangs. His shell is this lovely black and red, sleek and shiny, all the way down to his long, smooth tail that is his main focal point as a creature. You see, this tail is very special. It's incredibly hard. It's incredibly sharp. It's essentially a huge sword, acting as a counterbalance for his feats of surprising agility, able to leap great distances and move with a grace that you would not expect from something looking that bulky, but the main use of it is in offense. Granted, he can hold it in front of him like a shield, blocking whatever may be coming at him, but this tail blade is used to swipe at foes and cleave them in twain. But that's not all. Glavenus then has the ability to grind his tail against the ground and hard surfaces, which will then heat it up and ignite it. So he has a flaming sword tail. Let me just say that again. He has a flaming sword tail! It's beautiful! Like a flaming sword tail! Your argument is invalid after that point. He will often use this as a display of power and aggression when coming to conflict with other predators, striking the ground, lighting it up, and intimidating them into backing down, as most animals don't want to mess with fire. They definitely don't want to mess with fire on a sword tail. They definitely don't want to mess with fire on a sword tail attached to a hugely powerful dinosaur. Like, that's not worth it for most things. But, you know, hunters gotta hunt. So while in the state, the tail is more vulnerable, the heat softening the scale, but the offensive upgrade is palpable, slicing through rock effortlessly, crushing and cracking the ground, turning a hunter into half the man he used to be as soon as look at him. Glavenus spends its time dominating its jungly home as the top predator, tearing through herbivores at his leisure and generally having a wonderful time decimating opponents in battle, because he is very aggressive, not psychopath, erratic aggressive like Astalos, but a deliberate, intelligent, focused aggression, tearing through rival large animals by deadly wielding of his tail in a way that they just cannot combat. They simply can't comprehend what is coming at them. And there is only one animal that can consistently prey upon a Glavenus, and we don't talk about it right now. There's just so many bones. So many bones. But there is more to this tail. Have no talent. You see, his tail, well, it gets dull. Much like a hunter's weapon, it needs sharpening. And when it needs sharpening, Glavenus will run the tail through the fangs in his mouth to give it its edge back. Now, this generates loads of sparks and heat that his eyes are protected from by the plates over them, but during this process as well, he will actually grind off various bits of debris that's gotten caught on his tail. Things like minerals and random bits of the ground, and he will take that in, swallow it, and using an engine-like organ, like a furnace, convert it into huge amounts of heat, generating an almost magma-level substance inside of him, which he can then fire out in explosive bursts as he slowly heats up, his throat glowing red, his body temperature rising to ridiculous levels as he gets more and more aggressive as he approaches "I'm super mad at you right now" mode, and starts just being unstoppable with his tail sword attacks. So yeah, Glavenus, pretty damn awesome. And then we have, of course, Glavenus's theme, which I think might be the weakest of the four. But of course, he has a deviant also, the Hellblade Glavenus. Now, this guy is so you got a giant flaming tail sword, right? Well, what's one thing it could add? Well, the thing is, Hellblade Glavenus also has a new organ, and it produces explosive powder. This explosive powder then gets put onto his tail when he sharpens it, and means that the swings of his flaming tail sword also generate explosions, fiery death explosions, as well as cutting everything the hell up. It's absolutely ridiculous, and due to this, on top of again the huge physical boost in all categories, his shell has become extra thick and durable, resistant to his own explosions and other explosions as a side effect. It's to the point where even after death, his shell, you could be like handing it to the blacksmith, and if the blacksmith was like, whoops, dropped it, it would explode from the impact. That's how unstable this Glavenus has become, entering into this Hellblade state because of loads of rich soot being taken into its body. It's also physically changed because of its constant tail sharpening, wearing down the black colouring, allowing more red to come through from the sheer colossal amounts of heat produced in a Hellblade's body. And Hellblade Glavenuses are able to fight very much on par with the Rajangs and Devil Joes, and just colossally slaughter all beneath them, and, well, all is beneath them. So the cool thing about the Fated 4 then is, despite them not being linked sort of physically, though there is a quest called the Fated 4 where you fight them all back to back, it's quite the experience, is that they are weak to each other. Astalos is weak to Gammoth's ice, Gammoth is weak to Glavenus's fire, Glavenus is I'm just combining their names now, I've just been talking about them for so long. Glavenus is weak to Mitsune's water, and Mizutsune is weak to Astalos's thunder, which is really quite cool. As for them being in world, I would love to go with the idea that G-Rank, not so much a single buy new game expansion, it comes in little bits, each adding a new chapter to the G-Rank story, and the Fated 4 in the new world would be a massive flagpole in that, a real landmark moment, and it would ideally come with the ice map to serve Gammoth as the apex there. We could put Mizutsune in the Coral Highlands, and I think undoubtedly that would be a beautiful locale. Minding a different food source, Shamos I hear are tasty, as the lack of fish there, not too plentiful, but you can't deny that fighting Mizutsune in the Coral Highlands would be a gorgeous experience. Astalos and Glavenus, Recess, Wildspire, and Forest, they could be fine spattered over there. It would be so cool. The invasion of the Fated 4, their armor's badass as well. Each of their armor, by the way, comes with what was a new signature ability. For example, Mitsune's armor gives you the kind of bubble slidiness and helps your dodges out. It's pretty fantastic, but yeah, there you go. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Fated 4. I could have done a video on each one, but I feel like talking about one without the others is a little bit disingenuous to them, and I wanted to give you a kinda almost TLDR, though I did go on for a while of each one, and hopefully get you hyped to maybe fight them in the upcoming game. But either way, they're all wonderful creatures, and I love every single one of them. If I had to rank them, I think Mizutsune, then Glavenus, then Gammoth, then Astalos, but it's very close. It's very, very hard to do. I'd love to know which one is your favorite and how the others stack up to that, but I hope you enjoyed this. A lot of time went into this one, so I'll be very happy if you guys had like a, yeah, that was cool time. Please share it around if you did. It helps immensely. Like if you had fun. Subscribe for more, and I will see you soon.
Rage Gaming with the video float.
But that's all that's really relevant at the mo, but I'm still gonna leave this up so you patrons know that I love you, even though the outro's no longer that kind of relevant. But the new one's being worked on, and it's gonna be a truly badass song, and don't worry, I won't be doing any rapping on it. I'm gonna go now. This was shit.